What if I told you that some of the most dangerous moments for your heart and brain don't happen during a car crash or while climbing stairs, but instead during your quietest, most private routines? Imagine this. You're home. You're safe. You're just going about your morning, maybe reaching for the faucet, sitting down for a minute, or standing up without a second thought. Harmless, right? Now, here's the shocker. A major global study found that up to 1 in 4 strokes in adults over 65 happen during an activity most of us never question: going to the bathroom. Not during stress, not during exercise, but during moments that feel calm, routine, and automatic. It sounds unbelievable, but when you think about it, it makes sense. At our age, the body becomes less forgiving. The blood vessels stiffen, reflexes slow, and small stressors, the ones we brushed off at 40, start to hit harder at 65. The truth is, we're not talking about big risky behaviors here. We're talking about the small things. Habits so ordinary you probably did them this morning without even realizing. But what if those small habits were quietly increasing your risk of stroke, heart attack, or sudden falls? Wouldn't you want to know which ones? This episode, we're pulling back the curtain. We're going into the bathroom, not to scare you, but to open your eyes. Because the best kind of health advice is the kind that helps you stay independent, safe, and sharp without needing a hospital visit to teach the lesson. So instead of waiting for the warning signs, let's talk about what they never taught us and what your daily routine might be hiding. Some of the biggest dangers to your heart and brain aren't found in fast-paced moments or high-stress situations. They hide in quiet places, familiar routines, like the bathroom. It's where we begin and end our days, a space of privacy, comfort, and habit. But for millions of older adults, it's also where the body becomes most vulnerable. And that's not opinion, it's fact. According to the CDC, over 80% of falls in people over 65 happen in or around the bathroom. But what's even more surprising, a growing number of strokes and heart events also start here. Not from anything dramatic, but from how the aging body responds to subtle stress. See, after 60, your body doesn't bounce back the way it used to. Tiny changes in posture, temperature, or blood pressure can have outsized effects. Things that once felt harmless now carry quiet risks. But here's the good news. When you understand these risks, you can change them. You can move smarter, breathe deeper, and protect yourself in ways that add years, not just to your life, but to your independence. That's why today's conversation matters so much. And guiding us through it is someone who's lived through more decades and treated more patients than almost anyone on earth. At over 100 years old and still practicing medicine, Dr. Shigeaki Hinohara brings not just knowledge, but wisdom. As he often says, health is never hidden in the obvious, it lives in the details. Today we're diving into those details, into the little things you may overlook until they cost you something big. Because when it comes to your heart, your brain, and your balance, the most dangerous habits are often the ones you stopped noticing long ago. Let's start with the one habit that almost no one talks about, yet it affects nearly every older adult at some point: straining during a bowel movement. Now that might sound like an awkward place to begin, but hear this. What feels like a simple push can actually set off a chain reaction inside your body, one that puts intense strain on your heart, your brain, and your blood vessels. Here's why. When you hold your breath and push, something known in medicine as the Valsalva maneuver, you dramatically increase pressure inside your chest. In a younger, more flexible body, that might not cause much harm. But after 60, things change. Arteries stiffen, blood vessels grow more fragile, and that sudden internal pressure can do real damage. One large Japanese study found that in seniors with an average age of 84, blood pressure surged by over 29 million HON while straining. Even more concerning, that pressure stayed high for up to an hour afterward. And if you're someone with a history of heart issues or high blood pressure, that moment of strain can tip you into dangerous territory. Now, here's something even more shocking. A recent meta-analysis of over 680,000 patients revealed that chronic constipation and the strain that comes with it was linked to a 23% higher risk of ischemic stroke. 23%. That's not minor, that's avoidable. And perhaps the most famous example? Elvis Presley. According to medical reports, he likely died from a cardiac event while straining on the toilet. Dramatic? Yes, but medically entirely possible. So, what should you do? The answer isn't to panic. It's to listen to your body. If things aren't moving easily, don't force them. Instead, add more fiber to your meals. Drink warm water in the morning. Move your body a little each day. These small changes improve digestion and reduce pressure, safely and naturally, because your heart doesn't need more stress, and your brain certainly doesn't need another burst of pressure. Instead of pushing harder, give your body the tools to release gently. That's how you protect the engine inside you. Here's a question that might stop you mid-step. Did you know that nearly 1 in 4 strokes in older adults happen during or right after a bowel movement? Not while lifting something heavy, not while exercising, but right there on the toilet. Why? Because it's the perfect storm. Internal pressure, shallow breathing, and fragile blood vessels all converging in a single routine act. And the scariest part? Most people don't feel a thing until it's too late. So before you reach for your phone or start pushing harder, ask yourself, is this habit worth the risk? There's nothing quite like a hot shower to start or end your day. For many, it's a moment of comfort, a ritual, a reward. But what if that comfort comes at a cost? For older adults, scalding showers and long soaks in steaming water can quietly put dangerous stress on the heart and blood vessels. And the effects begin almost immediately. Here's what's happening inside your body. When you expose yourself to very hot water, your blood vessels rapidly expand. That's what gives you that flush feeling. But when those vessels open wide, your heart has to work harder, sometimes much harder, to keep blood flowing to your brain and other organs. If you're young, your body adjusts quickly. But after 65, with arteries that may already be stiff or partially blocked, that sudden shift can cause big problems. Your blood pressure can drop too fast, your heart rate can spike, and your brain may get too little oxygen too quickly. In Japan, a 20-year study followed over 30,000 people and found that those who regularly took very hot baths or showers had a 26% higher risk of cardiovascular events, including stroke. That's not because bathing is bad. In fact, warm baths done right can improve circulation. The problem comes when heat is extreme and exposure is too long. Even more startling, public health data in Japan shows that around 19,000 deaths each year are linked to bathing accidents, more than traffic fatalities. Many of these are sudden deaths that happen when the body can't handle the rapid changes in temperature and blood pressure. So what can you do? Keep your shower water under 100 degrees Fahrenheit. That's still warm, still relaxing, but much gentler on your heart. And limit your showers to 10 minutes or less, especially if you felt dizzy in the past. Think of your heart like an old furnace. It works well, but it doesn't need to be pushed to the limit. Instead of blasting it with heat, give it warmth it can handle. Because comfort isn't about intensity. It's about safety you can enjoy. Day after day. We all do it. The bathroom becomes a little break from the day, a chance to sit down, check your phone, read a magazine, maybe just take a breather. But here's something you probably haven't heard before. Lingering too long on the toilet, especially while distracted, can quietly raise your risk of stroke and heart trouble. Why? Because when you sit for too long, particularly in a slightly hunched or bent position, circulation slows, Blood begins to pool in the lower parts of your body, especially your legs. And in an older adult, where blood vessels are less elastic and blood flow is already challenged, that pooling can lead to clot formation. If one of those clots travels to the brain, it becomes an ischemic stroke. It sounds extreme, but the science backs it up. A large UK study that tracked over 13,000 seniors found that those who spent more than 10 minutes per trip on the toilet had a 37% higher risk of cardiovascular events. It's not just the time, though. It's what you're doing while sitting. When you're on your phone, the blue light delays your nervous system's natural relaxation signals. Your body stays in a state of mild alertness, heart rate slightly elevated, blood pressure slightly higher. Over time, that wears on your system. It keeps your stress hormones humming in the background. It holds tension where your body is supposed to release. And don't forget posture. Sitting with a forward lean, like when looking at a screen, compresses abdominal circulation. It's subtle, but repeated every day, it adds up. So here's the new rule. Treat the bathroom as a place of purpose, not a place to linger. Leave the phone outside. Let your body do what it needs to do. Then stand, stretch, and move on. Because stillness may feel like rest, but when it stalls your circulation, it becomes a silent threat. And your heart, it doesn't need you to sit longer. It needs you to move better. It feels harmless, right? Just a few extra minutes scrolling while you sit, catching up on news, replying to a message, watching a video. But ask yourself this, what's more valuable, finishing that article or protecting your brain from a blood clot? Because every minute you linger, hunched over your screen, your circulation slows and your risk rises. Your phone can wait, your brain can't. It happens in a blink. You finish, you stand, and suddenly, the room tilts, your vision blurs, your balance wobbles. You tell yourself, I just got up too fast. But what if that moment wasn't harmless? What if that single movement quietly strained your heart and robbed your brain of oxygen without you even noticing? This is called orthostatic hypotension, and it's more common after 60 than most people realize. It's a sudden drop in blood pressure when you move from sitting or lying down to standing. In younger bodies, the system compensates quickly, but as we age, those adjustments slow down. Blood momentarily pools in your legs and your brain doesn't get what it needs, just long enough to make you dizzy, or worse. Research shows that older adults with regular episodes of orthostatic hypotension face a 40% higher risk of stroke or heart attack. And that risk isn't just theoretical. Dr. Hinohara shares the story of a retired teacher, 72 years old. One night she got up to use the bathroom. No warning signs, no history of problems. But she stood too fast, lost her balance, and fell, hitting her head on the edge of the sink. She thought it was nothing, just a bruise. But days later she began slurring her speech. A brain scan revealed a slow internal bleed. It turned into a small stroke, all from one moment, one rush, one silent shock. So what's the fix? Pause before you rise. When you finish in the bathroom, don't leap up. Sit at the edge of the seat or bed. Take a few slow breaths. Flex your ankles. Count to 10. Let your blood catch up with your brain. Because safety isn't always about big gestures. Sometimes it's just about giving your body 10 extra seconds. Instead of pushing through, slow down. Instead of saying, I'm fine, give your body a chance to prove it. It's late. The house is quiet. You wake up with that familiar urge. You need to use the bathroom. Half asleep, you swing your legs over the bed. No lights, no shoes, just instinct and urgency guiding your steps. But what you don't realize is that this might be one of the most dangerous moments of your day. Why? Because at night your body is in a different state. Blood pressure is lower, your balance is off, and your brain is still climbing out of sleep. Add urgency, plus dim lighting, cold floors, and no support, and you've got a recipe for a fall. According to the CDC, more than 80% of falls in older adults happen in or around the bathroom. And many of those falls don't just leave bruises. They cause head injuries that can lead to strokes, brain bleeds, or long-term disability. One 2020 study published in German Neurology found that seniors who suffered nighttime bathroom falls were 2.5 times more likely to experience a stroke in the following month. That's not just a coincidence. That's a clear physiological link between head trauma and brain events. Dr. Hinohara recalls patients who slipped on a bathroom tile or caught their foot on a rug. The fall seemed minor, just a bump or a scrape, but days later came the headaches, the confusion, the slurred words. Too often it was a stroke already in motion. So how do you protect yourself? Start with light. Keep a soft nightlight near your bed or in the hallway. Clear the path to the bathroom. No rugs, cords, or clutter. Wear non-slip socks or slippers. And most importantly, when you wake, sit, breathe, wait. Give your body 15 seconds before you stand, because getting to the bathroom safely is more important than getting there fast. Don't let urgency rush you into risk. Your brain is worth the wait. Your balance is worth protecting. And in the quiet of the night, those few extra seconds could be the reason you wake up strong the next morning. After 60, the body doesn't shout. It whispers. It doesn't warn you with alarms. It gives you signals. Subtle, quiet, easy to ignore. But ignore them long enough, and the cost shows up loud and clear in a hospital bed, a lost step, or a forgotten word. That's the truth Dr. Hinohara has seen again and again. Not sudden illness, but slow wear, repeated stress, missed moments of prevention. Because your body is still capable, still resilient, but it needs support, not strain. It needs attention, not assumption. You don't need to fear your daily routine. You just need to understand it. Instead of thinking, I'm fine, ask, what is my body asking for today? Instead of rushing through old habits, make small, thoughtful adjustments, the kind that keep you independent longer. That's the power of awareness. That's the choice to listen before the body forces you to. And in this stage of life, awareness is protection. It's not about doing more, it's about doing smarter. If even one of these habits felt familiar to you, take it as a quiet invitation, not to overhaul your life, but to make one small change today. And if this episode opened your eyes, imagine who else might need to hear it. A friend, a sibling, a neighbor, someone who still rushes, still strains, still thinks, that won't happen to me. Share this episode, leave a comment, hit like, not just for us, but for the next person whose life might be quietly at risk. Because awareness spreads faster than disease, and a simple conversation might be the reason someone wakes up tomorrow, still standing strong. Thank you for listening, and thank you for choosing to age wisely with us.